Okay, hi all. Welcome to my kitchen. This is not in the kitchen with Joel. I filmed a segment earlier this morning. It's still June 9th. It's still Friday. And we talked about the dill and what plants you don't want to plant in your garden. Well, I found out spearmint, anything in the mint family will overtake your garden. So I went to my local Home Depot and I got 2 pots and I'm going to transplant the spearmint. The dill, on the other hand, because now it's established, it's been in the ground for over 2 weeks, it needs to stay in the ground. If you planted something that you know is going to grow rampant, try to get it or keep an eye on it before it blooms. Take the blooms off, and that will kind of prevent the plant from spreading. Fortunately, my garden has a liner, so I can kind of control how much my dill grows and work from there because I have a raised bed garden. So what we're going to do is we're going to move the spearmints into their own little pots. And that's just going to keep the spearmint from overtaking the garden. So if you're planting spearmint, peppermint, anything in those varieties, don't plant them in a main garden because they will, once they take a hold, they will take over the entire garden. And fortunately, my spearmint is still fairly small. My spearmint's over there, and I've got a spearmint plant here that's doing a little bit okay. My dill is getting tall, but since he's kind of established right there, I'm going to see how he does and then make a determination on what to do next. Now, I know we talked about watering, and you can kind of see, I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing. You see how the leaves are kind of down? That's indicative that the garden needs to be watered. Right now, it is in the 80s, and the garden is in sun, so I'm going to wait a couple of hours before I give it water. And my parsley is not doing so well right now, and I'm thinking it's getting a little bit too much sun, so I need to move it to a little bit more of a shady spot and see how that does. But you can see that my peppers down here are doing amazing, and I need to kind of move this just a little bit because the birds are pooping on it when they fly over. But this is what I was talking about. This is my lemon balm, and you can kind of see what it's doing. It's just growing rampant right here. That's why I have this in a flower box versus in the garden. And we're going to move, like I said, later on this afternoon, I'm going to move the spearmint out so it doesn't take over the garden. So, what do you do if you did plant something that grows rampant? Well, if it hasn't had enough time to settle into the garden, you can always transplant it. In the fall, what you want to do is dig up your entire garden when all of your plants have produced, and just before the first freeze, you want to dig the garden soil, rototill it, and take anything out of it. And then hopefully the next planting season, you won't see too much coming back. Like I said, and we talked about this in the earlier segment, my chives will come back with a vengeance next year. And in the spring, I'll be able to see them and I'll be able to move them. So, that was my gardening tip. I'm hoping you guys are enjoying these. I'm hoping you guys have beautiful flower gardens. I don't know if YouTube will allow you to post a picture, but I would love to see pictures. You can follow me on Facebook. My Facebook is, I'll leave a description down below on what my Facebook is, because off the top of my head, I know what my name is, but I do have a Facebook page that I use. So you can follow me on Facebook as well as following me on YouTube. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm going to go transplant my spearmint, and I will talk to you on the next video. Okay, hi everybody. Sorry you can't see me. I'm going to try to move you guys over. Okay, I grabbed my 2 spearmints and they're in these 2 pots. Now I just need to add topsoil. And you might be wondering, what do you need to do when you transplant your vegetables or herbs from a garden setting into a pot setting? Well, you want to make sure you have potting soil. And I do. I'm using a combination of Miracle-Gro and organic, and these are not going to get too rampant because they're in smaller pots. So I'm going to kind of keep them on the small side. So I'm just going to grab my organic soil. And this is just a regular potting mix that I've actually had for quite a while. Now, when you plant something from the ground into a pot, you're going to want to make sure that the soil stays moist and that you give it a pretty good water. So that's what I'm just doing now, is I'm just going to fill up the soil. And this is actually soil I've had for quite a while. And you might be wondering, well, can I use soil that I bought last year or the year before? Well, the answer is yes, you can. It may not do the same thing that it initially was supposed to do, so the growing agents may not be working anymore, but it's still soil, and you can certainly use it for plants. And I'm just giving this like a little firm mixture in here. And sorry, you're hearing my dogs in the background barking. They're all outside today because it's nice. And you can definitely smell the spearmint. And I picked I'm going to put one of these things. And you can tell that the root system of the spearmint did get pretty established. So hopefully this won't kill it, but it will make it much harder to grow. And again, if you're planting something that you're unsure of, that you're not sure how it's going to grow, Wikipedia online is a great place to start to gather information about certain species of plants, flowers, and vegetables. There are also great Facebook groups that will help you with gardening. And a lot of times, your local Home Depot or Ace or even Lowe's garden center will know how to help you. So these 2 are now in their pots, and that's all I needed to do today, is just to transplant them. I'm gonna watch them and see how they do. This is the first year I've actually done a spearmint, and I would use it more for tea than vegetables. It's also a great deterrier. I think that came out right, deterrier, for rabbits. But when I talked to my knowledgeable lady at my Home Depot, she said you need to be very careful with the mints, which includes peppermint, spearmint, that they grow really wild. Once they get a hold, she said they are incredibly hard to get rid of. So that was just a suggestion if you're planting stuff that you don't know. Most of my herbs, with the exception of my basil, my sage, and my dill, and I will watch my dill. And in order to control dill, if you cut it short regularly, it won't have a chance to bloom. So I'm going to see how that goes for this year. Next year, if I do dill again, I'll probably just do it in a regular pot versus the garden. So, in a couple of weeks, we'll see how my garden's doing. So, that was just a fun tip from me. Hope you enjoyed this segment. Tune in for the next Gardening with Joel video.